Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of this thing that I'm going to be doing where I talk to people. Today's guest, someone very special, someone I'm sure you all are all very familiar with, Amazing Lucas. Can we get a round of applause here? But first, this video is sponsored by Rizzle. Rizzle is an awesome new video platform where you can post 60-second videos. This TikTok, YouTube, Patreon hybrid makes it really easy to go viral talking about subjects that you're passionate about. I currently talk about current events, I do ironic skits, and I post vlogs on my page. Rizzle also makes it so you can only respond to a video with a video, so no more annoying trolls with daddy issues hiding behind their keyboards. If you aren't sure which kind of videos to make, Rizzle holds competitions every week where you have the chance to actually win money. I'm really enjoying Rizzle, and I know you will also. So click the link in my description to download Rizzle and follow me at Hunter Avalone today. Don't forget to check out my funny #ThisIsMe prompt on Rizzle and get involved yourself by making a video and hashtagging #ThisIsMe. What's up, Lucas? How you doing, man?
What's up, guy? It's, hanging in there. Hanging in there.
Yeah, it looks like it. I've been following your Instagram, and it looks like you're in a lot of shit lately.
I'm in the deep end, just trying to breaststroke, backstroke, and
Right.
just survive.
Dealing with a lot of shitheads, huh?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that, my guy. Something like that. Yeah. What were we down? 20K, I think.
20K subs, huh?
20K, bro.
Man, that's almost as bad as me. I think I lost 30 or 40K.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So what's really been happening? I mean, it looks to me like you're going through a similar transition, kind of like what I went through a couple months ago. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't want to, throw anything.
Don't kill me now. Don't kill the channel.
Right. I'm speculation only, guys. Still,
we already got jokes. Oh, he's liberal. He's liberal now.
Oh,
no, it's just when it comes to certain issues, people they lose their minds. Like when it comes to police, they just lose their minds. They go crazy. I'm just like, it is what it is. Like I'm just letting you know. It's just interesting to see where people's biases are,
right.
And who they tend to give the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. All that innocent until proven guilty. That's make believe. I hope everyone knows that it's make believe, as we can see.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely think that the right has a problem with police. That they almost, it literally seems like they lack the ability to criticize the police, and that's kind of like what I always say. I'm like, nobody's above reproach, and police are human too. And sometimes you need to criticize the police. Sometimes you need to hold them accountable, right?
Yeah, as much as you do your own party. Like if you constantly want to say you're a Republican, or conservative, I'm conservative, whatever that means nowadays, then you have to, call out the nonsense when you see it. It's like, okay, that's bad. Don't say that. That doesn't help anyone, right? That doesn't help anyone come to your party. It's the same thing. It's like, call out Trump or call out when they say something that's just wild. Because if you don't, then it just makes you look like a hack. Then it's just like, okay, then what's the point?
Right. It doesn't look like you have any real accountability. It just looks like you're playing it safe. You're sticking in one side. You're making sure that you don't say anything to offend that sort of same side, I guess. And it's really funny that you're experiencing some of these things. Again, I don't want to, throw anything on you, but it does remind me of some of the stuff I dealt with too, with just dealing with some of the more far right people just going off on you. It's definitely pretty ridiculous how their biases are. I mean, it seems like they're fine criticizing the left all day, and then the minute you're like, hey, here's something we can do better, they're like, oh, so you're a liberal now.
I knew it all along.
Oh yeah, do you get comments like that too? That was like, you were never conservative.
Bro, it's gotten so bad. I reached out to you. I was like, yo, so what you been doing, my guy? What you been doing? Because it's been so crazy.
Yeah.
Where like, what was it? One time that there's been a few videos that before I put out a video, and someone would put out a video. We won't name who or whoever. They'll put out a video, and you'd have all those people from who watched that video come on my video and like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You should watch such and such, or you should. Blah, blah, blah. Now it got so bad where like I put out a video where I was like, yo, this is clearly the case, because when the case was Ahmaud Arbery, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, people were talking about he had a hammer. You know, he had work boots on. He had, Uggs or something.
Yeah.
The Timbs or something. Like all this crazy. I'm like, oh, okay. There's nothing that's come out and said that. There's nothing. This is all speculation. This is all make believe, right? And people just running with it. He was, 50 miles from his house. I was like, okay, where did you get this from?
And even if he was, let's say, even if he was wearing a
not
nice pair
that
of
it even
Uggs,
matters, right?
Right, exactly. Even if he was wearing a fucking pair of Uggs, or he was 50 miles from his home. I also saw some conservatives, they were like, well, footage beforehand shows him entering a house under construction or something. It's like, oh yeah, that deserves the death sentence. Yep.
It's crazy, and it makes it worse when you have quote unquote these black conservatives and whatnot, because then it's like, oh look, well so and so said it, so what now?
Right.
Like,
I know who you're talking about.
So and then finally when it comes out, the GBI and whatever, and I post it like, oh, so you're race bait. Right. What? What are you talking about? Are you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Like, I don't know what happened to you. Yeah. You're just liberal.
You've been drinking too much soy. Like it's always.
You've been in California too long now. It's
always the same shit. It's so annoying.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But you notice as soon as certain things come out, then people just go, you know what? I don't want to cover that story anymore.
Right. And
I don't want to just. That's interesting. Interesting.
Why are conservatives so afraid to admit that sometimes there are legitimate displays of racism? No one's saying that America's all racist and every white person should die for their privilege or some bullshit.
They immediately jump to the completely extreme conclusions.
I know.
No,
which is a liberal thing to do. That's like a lefty tactic. And the thing that I've noticed, and I definitely think you're coming to the realization of this also, is that a lot of the conservatives are the new SJWs.
They can get there. They can get there. Yeah, some of the stuff is just.
I actually think some of them are worse.
Think really? Some of them are worse?
I think that sometimes people on the right can be worse for multiple reasons. One, they're not at all like they always they make fun of the left for being in echo chambers. And what'd you say? You lost 20,000 subscribers? Why? Because the right disagreed with you on something. That's SJWE as fuck, right? To just unfollow someone and be like, well, I guess I'm done with your content. It's right, yes, because everybody you follow on YouTube has to agree with you 100%, or else what? I don't know.
But it gets to the point where it's not even necessarily, I don't even think it has to agree. It's just that there's certain figureheads that have been, deemed, well, these are the arbiters of conservatism or what black people think and whatnot. So when you veer off I don't know about that. I don't think that's accurate. Oh, what? So-and-so said so. What do you mean? Are you not conservative now? That's what it is. Are you going the Hunter Avallone route?
I saw some comments on your thing too. Saying
yeah, bro.
Yeah. Well, are you going the Hunter Avallone route? Because come on, can I get a pat on the back for leading a movement here that some of us actually want to think freely. Some of us don't want to be these conservatives, because what it means to be conservative is sometimes it's bullshit. And do you ever get the feeling that a lot of people on the right they're just they just oppose shit because it's they're supposed to? They don't really know the reason why. Have you ever tried to have a conversation with a conservative about whether or not systemic racism exists?
That's woo! Just
the minute you go there,
words come out, it makes me start sweating.
I know. The minute you even say systemic racism, it's no, that's not real. It's do you even know what I'm referring to? Do you know what I'm actually talking about?
It's very similar. Actually, I won't say it's similar. I don't know what it is. I think it's you grow up with it. Because I grew up conservative. I didn't have any walk away movement or anything like that. So I know many of these talking points, but it's a little different between talking points and actually going, well, let's dive a little deeper into this, because the devil is usually in the details. Right. I think it's those superficial, those just cursory, just to spit it out because it sounds good. Right. But when you go into the data and the details, well, okay, that doesn't actually. That's not how it works. So it's like, oh, well, black people stop committing crime. They would, there you go. Problem solved.
I hate it. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of reductionism for sure.
Yeah, it's just smooth brain, just explanation for things. And it's just like, okay, well, let's actually look into that and see, if that's actually the case. See if there's any weight or merit to what people are saying. I think that's the scary journey that people don't want to take.
Right.
And it is scary. Because if you've been told to go, this is this, and then you find out, okay, you're
a little scared to like take a closer look.
Just enter, and then you come up with data or studies. It's like, okay, well, let me see where these studies and data come from. Well, there clearly must be, I don't know, these libtards or something like that. And it's like, okay, all right. Well, then we have to. It's the same thing I get whenever I cite or source like a video with CNN. That's what I did. It was Kumo. Kumo was interviewing one of the dudes from the Arbery case. And people were like, oh, really? CNN, Lucas? What next? You're gonna start quoting fake news? I'm just like, yo, did Fox News have an interview with the guy? Is there an interview you would like me to source? It's like, no, I get it that some of these are just horrible in many cases. You have CNN that'll put out stuff and just like, that's just nonsense. And you'll have Fox News that'll put out stuff and like, that's just nonsense as well.
Right. And it's like, it's just better to have that mindset where you're willing to hold everything, including your own side, to the same standards that you hold your, I guess, opposition, right? And that's a lot of the problem with the right. You're right. It's become a very smooth brain sort of, it's not as much about like debate and getting into the nitty gritty details. And it's much more about like, this is a nice soundbite. This sounds good in a tweet. This looks nice. Like, and yeah, it is. A lot of it is reductionist and a lot of it is bullshit. It's really easy to be like, well, just don't commit crime. But the details are like, why are people committing crime, right?
Yeah. It's just subtle stuff like that. It was like, well, I don't know, because they're criminals. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
some people are, yeah, but sometimes people like I'm sure you've seen the studies that show like I think African Americans are arrested at much higher rates for like marijuana offenses as compared to white people, despite the fact that white people and black people both like consume equal amounts of marijuana.
I haven't seen that one because I don't really I don't do weed or I don't care about. So I don't know about that one, but I've seen others in that ballpark where it's like breaks it down. Where it's like, well, no, it's because of this and that. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting to even just to come by those because many people haven't even seen them, right. Or they just believe it's just fake because it goes against to whatever they believe. Mm-hmm. And in other cases, it's on certain times where I don't know, it revolves around that or revolves around something else or marriage or something else where it's like, okay, let me be fully informed. Even if I feel a certain way, right. Let me just make sure that the data even supports what I believe.
Right.
And as opposed to let me find data that supports my belief as opposed to see if the data even supports it. So right. People, it's tough to do that. And the system isn't built for that. And I'm starting to realize that, you have the extreme, like Fox News is just the polar opposite of CNN. Mm-hmm. No better or no worse. It just feeds its fodder for a certain base.
Right.
And, the people that come on there, it's just like, okay, I get where you're coming from. And you go to CNN, I get where you're coming from. So you have to, take a little bit of where CNN is like, okay, let me see if this is accurate. And then Fox News, let me see where this is accurate. Mm-hmm. Because it's divide and conquer. That's why I'm starting to come to the conclusion. Because I'm just like, yo, much of this, I'm like, you can say opposition, but are you opposition or are you just controlled opposition? Or you guys just buddy, once the cameras go off?
Right. I think that's how a lot of the people in the media probably are, right?
Yeah. So,
yeah, no, it's definitely a shame with the sort of reductionist point of view, and especially, yeah, like you said, the fact that people are so like a lot of people on the right, they like love Fox News and then they hate CNN, and it's like you need to understand that Fox News is just right wing CNN. Like it's the same. It's just like you said, the polar opposite. There was something I was going to say, and then I think it just kind of slipped away from me. So when did all this sort of start? Because last time we talked, I still got the vibe that you were very much on the right. I was moving much more to the center. What really started all this? I assume it was the police thing, like the police stuff, but was there something really specific, like the really big catalyst?
There was nothing specific. I mean, I'm still on the right. It's just when it comes to certain issues, it's like, okay, that's not accurate.
Right.
It's like, it really, I don't know, when it comes to certain, like, even I had certain views when it came to this dude. I forgot his name. What he went to defend his daughter, and a homeless guy apparently allegedly goes into the women's stall, knocks on his door and everything. I was like, yo, that's what you get. You going into the stall, knocking on. It was my daughter. Yeah, I'm gonna hunt you down. It's just what it's like when it comes to pedos, when it comes to rapists, when it comes to those. It was up to me. Of course, that's not how the law is, but it was up to me. It'd just be night, be lights off, just no questions asked. Once we find it, it's done. People were like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" There was no. I was like, "That's just me." And then when it came to the Ahmaud Arbery, I was like, "Okay, this isn't adding up." We're like, and then you had people who go out of their way. They try so hard to prove one side. Mm-hmm. It's regardless, and it's like I can see where your biases are because you're not conceding anything. Because even if you concede it, you'll just try and pivot. Okay, well, what about this? Okay, well, what about okay? Right. We just went through 3 points that were inaccurate, that were false. When finally the facts and evidence come out, then we had we have other cases, Breonna Taylor. Then we had Daniel Schaefer. I'm just looking at that, Kelly Thomas. Then you have other cases. Like all this is popping up. It's like, oh, you must hate cops. It's like no. I'm just saying, hey, if you believe that it's just 1%, which there's no data to suggest that, it's just an absurd number. 1% are just bad apples. I'm like, okay, then why not we give spotlight to these bad apples so we can get them off of the police department.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was saying is when you by like highlighting the bad police officers and getting rid of them, you kind of eventually bring the spotlight back to the good officers, right? And I think that we're actually pretty in the same boat when it comes to the issue with police. I think that there are plenty of really good individual police officers, but I think that the system of policing is corrupt and it's definitely in desperate need of reform. And I think that right now the police force, the way it works, sort of incentivizes less than stellar behavior from a lot of our officers. And even with the sort of what we saw with George Floyd, and then there was another officer that didn't try to stop Derek Chauvin when he should have. It's sort of is very obvious that even if let's say there are 1% bad apples, right? Some of those bad apples are in positions of leadership where they're then commanding. Maybe they're a good officer that they're commanding, but the bad apple's calling the shots, which basically turns the rest of them into bad apples.
Exactly.
So it really is just a corrupt system of policing. And I don't know why there's so many bootlickers on the right that just can't handle the fact it's like, sorry, not all cops are like heroes. Some cops are shitty people. And I thought of something really spicy, and this is actually a way to this. We can take this into our next topic. I was thinking of putting this into a meme, but I decided I was like, I don't think I'm ready to lose more Instagram followers. But I was thinking about who was that black police officer that died during the riots? Do you know who I'm talking about? Was it David Dorn?
Yes, David Dorn. Yes,
David Dorn. I was thinking about looking it up and seeing if he had a record. And then posting something like David Dorn, he was no angel, kind of like.
Oh, you should absolutely.
I mean, that's exactly what Candace Owens did.
I'll post it. I don't care. It's gotten to where it's like, you want to wild out? Okay, fine. Let's just keep that same energy with everyone, right? Because they were so quick. People were just, oh my gosh, he was just trying to stop a burglary. He was a hero. All of this. I was like, wait, hold up. If you were to apply the scenario to any other person, you would be just castigating this individual. Right. You're going to show up to burglary unarmed and then try and stop it and be surprised when you get shot. And you want me to feel sympathy for you?
Just don't approach criminals, right? I mean, don't commit crime. Don't approach criminals.
Don't come unarmed, especially when you want to say you're an ex-officer. I would think you would have more brain cells to show up to a potential burglary, especially given the atmosphere of rioting and looting. Just unarmed. Just what do you do? You just say, "Hey, stop! Don't do that." Like what?
There was no. Did anybody have any idea that he was actually a police officer, or did he just look like a regular guy?
He wasn't even active duty. He was retired. He was a retired officer. And I don't mean to say this to make light of his death. It's horrible.
No, of course
But I'm
not.
just saying, just keep that same energy. Keep that same scrutiny that you want to apply to everyone who's been a victim.
Right.
It's crazy. They've done this case, that case, every case. It's always the victim. They want to go into the background, the history of the person.
Candace Owens did that recently with the whole George Floyd thing. And I watched her video pretty much in its entirety, and I mean, it was just complete BS, because she was like going on and on about how George Floyd was a bad person or something, and it's like, it doesn't matter if he was a good person or not. He was killed, and it was unjust the way he died. I don't care if he was literally like a common, like, I don't care if all he ever did was like rob people.
Mm-hmm.
The police officers should not have the right to be the judge, jury, and executioner. So whether or not he's a stellar citizen or the like common criminal thief, whatever, I don't care. Does it warrant the death penalty? No. Does he deserve, even murderers, even rapists? Part of like the fundamental of our country is that you deserve a fair trial, right? That you are, again, presumed innocent until proven guilty. And what Candace Owens did, I don't know if you saw the video.
I saw it. No, I definitely I had some words for it, because I was like, "Yo, this is nonsense." All right,
irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the discussion. She's like, "Why are they glorifying George Floyd? He wasn't a good person." It's like,
a lot of it
nobody said he was.
Yeah, or it was a lot. It was just plagued with straw mans and just red herrings. It's like, "Oh, black people, we can do better." It's like, what? What?
Can't, like, what? How would you take the other problem is, it's like, why don't you just focus on the bigger issues at hand? It's like, what, you watch George Floyd like handcuffed, saying he can't breathe, being murdered by an officer, and you take away from, come on, black community, we can do better than that. It's like, what about the police? Where's your rant talking about how the police officers were no angel? Because Derek Chauvin had a significant record, countless issues with violence and brutality.
No one talks about that.
No one talks about it. No one talks about it.
19 reports on his record, complaints.
Yeah. Including, someone was actually
that.
going to file a civil rights violation, like a lawsuit against him as well, which
Really?
it ended up getting dropped because they like didn't pay a fee or something. But he was going to be hit with some kind of a lawsuit about some alleged like racism or civil rights violations. So,
wow.
I mean, that's
I didn't even hear about that.
That's so much more significant, so much more damning, and actually has like relevance to the issue at hand, rather than whether or not George Floyd was perfect. I've heard a lot of people bring up like, oh, he robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint. It's like, yes, that's bad. He went to prison. He then got out and was trying to do better for himself, and then got murdered by an officer.
Over
like,
a decade-old stuff that you want to bring up on his deathbed,
right?
Because
it's like,
in order to fight a narrative, that's the beautiful part. You're like, I'm just gonna bring up stuff. And I'm saying, well, I'm fighting a narrative. It's like,
what
well,
narrative?
That narrative doesn't exist. What are you talking about?
Right,
You're just doing it, just throw dirt on this guy. And like when it comes to the pregnant situation, I don't know if you heard recently, she's dropped that. I haven't heard her say pregnant. She was what was it? She was in a discussion with Mark Lamont Hill earlier, and she dropped the pregnant line. Because I went on, I was like, yo, I have yet to come across any data, any documents, nothing to suggest that this woman was pregnant. Now, when it comes to the abdomen, yes, that was documented. There's nothing that says pregnant. So I'm like, where did you even get this from? Why are you just trying to be hyperbolic in the sense of be hyperbolic?
Right.
And that's the problem where it comes when you've built your entire audience, when you've built, just eyes on you from one side, where it's like, well, if you're going to play it for this one side, then you have to use these talking points. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say this. And I've noticed that. And it's like, yo, I don't want to be chained down to that. I want to be able to, fight out of the pocket. Every once in a while, there we go. Think freely. Little plug for Hunter's merch. Gotta get me one of them. I mean that's what it means. And even the whole free thinker, that's been co-opted by the right as like, well, I thought you were a free thinker.
Oh, I know. Have you? I've seen something.
That's what I'm doing.
I've seen a couple comments that are like, if you're such a free thinker, why won't you acknowledge the data on race and IQ? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It's like, you think you're so slick over here. I have examined the data, and it's BS, dude.
Gosh.
Come on. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I came to a very similar realization where I realized that a lot of these people on the right, they have to say what they have to say because they have to keep their base happy. And I think that sort of environment is what encourages a lot of right-wing grifters also. I think that's what encourages people to be like, do I really believe this? Not really, but like I gotta say what makes my base happy, so I gotta say I gotta get a paycheck. And that's kind of where I think it just becomes easy to be a grifter because already we kind of know that the right lacks standards. Like as long as you're up there saying what they want to hear, then you're good. Hit the follow button, right?
I think that's with any. I think that's with the left and the right.
I think that's with the left and the right, but I think it's worse with the right.
You think it's worse? Why do you believe it's worse with the right?
Because I think that the left, although some of the people on the left can be really annoying, those like woke scoldy little losers. I feel like the left tends to care a bit more about authenticity, whereas the right cares much more about just being told what they want to hear. And I think that's demonstrated especially by the fact that like you've gained a lot of subscribers, I've gained a lot of subscribers, and the minute that I said that I like don't agree with this on the right, or the minute you said you don't agree, they're gone. They don't give a fuck about you. They just care that you're saying what they want to hear, and that's not for everyone.
You mean more of a just not a macro, more of a micro when it comes to as far as YouTube or when it comes to commentary, whatnot, or do you mean like, let's say for example, not AOC, Pelosi with the kente cloth and kneeling and whatnot,
right?
Obviously
that's cringe. That's cringe,
yeah,
right?
Just
right. It's just that. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, that's not what I really am talking about when I say the left. All right?
Okay, you gotta be clear here because people like they're gonna be just waiting for it.
I know they're like, haha, he likes Pelosi. Got it.
Oh, God,
no. Actually, those corporate Democrats.
Corporate Democrats. There we go. Okay.
Those corporate Democrats, I really hate them. No, I don't like them at all. When I say the left, I'm kind of referring to in the same level as what I mean when I say the right, the online left, the online
extreme.
Right.
The extreme
kind of, but just more like the online sphere of things.
The online sphere. Okay.
Yeah, so like I think that the online left tends to care a little more about authenticity, whereas the online right, as soon as you've experienced it firsthand, and so did I. The minute you say something that they don't agree with, they're gone. They're done. I mean, I got so many comments that was like, I was once a fan, and now not any longer, or whatever. And I also find that like. I want to ask your opinion on this. Do you think that people on the right sometimes think that like displaying signs of empathy is the equivalent of like weakness or being a soy boy or sort of like a snowflake?
I think it's all contextual. Okay. I think it's all contextual, and that's what's really irritating because it's like perfect case was the David Dorn incident. How they'll just, oh my God, this was horrible. It was horrible. Not knowing anything about the person other than that he was a retired officer. And when it comes to someone else, where they go out of their way to try and pull up dirt on that individual.
Right. It's like they don't give the same treatment. They don't.
Yeah. They got empathy, all right. It's just towards
what fits their agenda.
Exactly. Right. It depends who you're talking about. Well, this person's a criminal.
That makes sense. Because yesterday on my live stream, I talked about those Wilmington police officers who got fired for the racist audio.
I haven't heard anyone report on that. Have you heard any of these
all right, you know what?
pundits or whatnot?
I'm gonna say it, Lucas.
Okay.
I heard about it from you, and then I looked it up, and I
really what?
I got a notification for one of your videos, and I saw something about the Wilmington officers got fired. So I didn't watch your video. I tend to avoid the videos because I don't want to copy anybody before I
poison the well.
Yeah. No, but I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is really gross. And I reported on it yesterday, and I'll have a video dropping on it this week on my secondary channel. And I got a comment that was like, Hunter's becoming a soy boy. It's like, yep, I'm a soy boy because I don't want officers to say that they want to put the bullets in the brains of like African-American people in their community. Like,
crazy. And people are trying to justify that. They're like, well,
it's so annoying.
I understand that.
George Floyd, they're like digging through. They're like, oh, look. He once smoked marijuana in the back seat of his car. Aha! It's like, and then David Dorn gets killed. Yeah, like you said, no research at all. They're just like, holy, Oh my goodness, it's so terrible.
Horrible.
It's so
Travesty.
tragic.
A hero has been taken away from us.
Right, exactly. It's like, come on, conservatives,
Okay.
let's do better. I don't think he should be an icon for conservatives.
Yeah, and that's what really it just irritates me, especially when it came to the officers and the racist thing. It's like, okay, they admit that's what they said. We have them on video, and you guys just want to do just complete blackout. Nothing, not even a little bit. You're not going to address, not even say that's bad or no. You're just no video on that.
A lot of the people on the far right, they just any kind of display of racism, they're like, no, until like is like those officers, right? The most blatant display, like literal racial slurs saying, I want to go shoot people. And then even still, they're like, meh.
I mean, was it racist? I mean, black people say the N-word too, so
It's
I'm
like,
just.
I mean, doesn't everybody kind of want to, shoot people? Like, come on. Like,
they are being attacked, and the people who are attacking them are kind of dark.
I saw also you were getting a lot of hate for your take on the Officer Karen incident.
Oh yeah, it's just like this. Oh, Brent, don't even get me started on Karen. Yeah, people are like, but do you see how it goes back to what you were saying? Oh, I don't think they lack empathy. No, they have an amazing amount of empathy. Amazing, just bucket loads of empathy.
Pearl clutching levels.
Oh my God, ridiculous! You're heartless. I'm like, wait, you have the audacity to call me heartless over someone who's complaining about their McDonald's order, and that's what it was.
Right.
She never. That's what it was. People wanted to say, well, no, you have to watch it. No. You watch what she said. She's constantly talking about, well, they were late and this and this and this. Had nothing to do with what she was saying until it got to a point where probably it came in her head, I need to start saying something before people catch on to that, this isn't really the reason that I'm upset about this whole situation. But when I say, hey, you know what, it doesn't really matter when it comes to George Floyd because what happened to him was horrible. Oh, what do you mean? He was a criminal. He was a thug and a criminal. I'm just like.
It's like, yeah, but like, so
what?
So what? Exactly. Yeah, no.
And then I followed it up with another video because people were talking about, well, given that people were getting razor blades in their pizza and, this was happening. And this was, I was like, okay.
Kind of comments.
Yeah. I was like, okay, let me actually look into these stories. Upon looking them up, nothing of what they believed was accurate. It was like, okay, they did an investigation. They come to find out it was an accident. It came out of thing. Yeah, Shake Shack. There's another one with the pizza, and it's like, okay, with the pizza, we have nothing to verify that. There's nothing other than the person. They didn't file a police report. What do you want me to do? And they're like, oh yeah, you believe the investigation? You believe it was an accident, huh? I was like,
oh yeah, that's what, dude. I had the same shit. Because I talked about the Shake Shack thing. I was like, maybe she's freaking out about it because of the Shake Shack. But then that was revealed to be an accident. And I got a comment, too, that was like, you really think it was an accident? It's like, even when things get disproven for people on the right, they just go straight to the conspiracies.
By the police. Okay, so the police did an investigation on their own of a razor in their shake. And you believe they're just like, you know what?
They're like,
we have evidence that proves there's criminality behind this action. We're just, we're just gonna let it slide.
CNN pressured us to not say anything. Like, what do you really think?
We don't want backlash or anything. What are you talking about? It's these just like you're stupid. You're retarded. I can't. See, that's why I can't do debates because when I hear something, I'm just like, no, you're dumb. Stop saying that. And it makes it worse when you have other people. You see it and you see people just liking it. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, wait, there's more than one person who thinks this comment has any validity? I know. I lose faith instantly.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to. So after all this, are like the way you feel about the right, has it changed at all, you think?
It's extremely changed. It's extremely changed because I know I have gaps where it comes to certain ways how I feel about it. It's like, okay, if I really were pressed on this, I need to do more research, actually do more data, just to look into, okay, let me see what what everything's, but I have the talking points, right? I think everyone has the talking points. Right. We all love the talking points because they're easy. It's just like, okay, yeah. You just get blown out. I can just blow you out by talking points.
Right. Charlie Kirk tweets, man. I got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. And then when you start thinking about it, it's just like, that makes no sense. Right. I think what we need to have on both the left and the right, which I don't think is going to ever happen, but just a little more critical thinking, a little more, because you have this superficial tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And it's these talking points. There's easy, you just repeat it, regurgitate. And it's like, but when you have to get into the actual data analysis and why that even exists, or why that even, why that may even be faulty of even citing that, it's a whole different story.
Right.
So I've realized that a little bit better on some of the stuff that I put out, because now it's no longer just feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll just put out feelings, and it's like, well, that's what it is. And it's like, well, okay, but what are the facts and the evidence behind it, right?
Right. Where's the facts and logic?
Yeah. Where's the facts and logic? And then sometimes they'll put out facts and logic. It's like, okay, that doesn't prove what you think it proves.
Right.
That's like, the data you have doesn't in any way, shape, or form substantiate your argument.
I think that a lot of people on the left and the right, but especially on the right, they don't think that they're very feelings based. They sort of think that they're like really logical, but their version of that is basically just being like lacking empathy in a lot of places, and also just like they're it's so easy to, what am I trying to say here? Like, it's so easy to repeat things that isn't true, and it's a lot of the times based more on like an intuitive sort of feeling. Like, intuitively this makes sense, but when you really look again at the nitty gritty and at the data, maybe it's not actually correct. And I think that kind of boils down to a lot of that simple-minded thinking too. It's like, well, just don't commit crime. Well, it's not that simple. Like, there's more to it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of the times, it's very based on like intuition, what intuitively feels right. And then I also think that a lot of people on the right are fine sharing things that are false as long as it proves what they want it to prove overall. I've noticed that too.
I think everyone's guilty of that. That's what I've noticed. That I think some of the stuff that that many, including myself, have criticized of the left are like, yo, that's nonsense. It's not true. This and this. Where you'll actually, when someone says something, you'll actually do the research on what they say, right? You'll go in there. It's okay. Well, this study was proven false because of what he said on page 3, and shows to be inaccurate. But when you hear the same stuff said on the right, it's like, well, I mean, that's probably true. You won't do the same due diligence that you do on your team as you opposed to the opposition. And I get that, but that doesn't help anything. And I think the system, how it's set up, it's not made for that.
Right.
It's not made for actual deep level of, okay, let's actually go through this and what it proves and whatnot. It's when you look at CNN, when you look at Fox, it's not made for that.
Right.
So that's why
also just even the two-party like political system, the way that works, it's always just like, oh, well, if you hold majority opinions this way, then you must be this side. It's like, can't I just be me with opinions? Why does it always have to be like you're on the right, you're on the left? And that divides people as well.
Divide and conquer, and people need that in order to simplify things. They need to categorize. Okay, what are you exactly?
Right, exactly.
Are you Republican?
But the thing
are
is
you
like,
Democrat? Are you liberal?
What's weird is like nobody is 100% anything. I don't think. I mean, maybe some.
Well, I don't know. I won't. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, maybe some. But generally speaking,
100%.
I think that most people, right, like have their opinions. Some of them, maybe most of them fall on the right. Some of them are on the left. And I think that's sometimes like the problems that we run into, especially being like in the public eye, which is like, hey, not everything I agree with is right leaning. Not everything I agree with is left leaning. And people don't like that because they just want to follow Lucas because they want to hear conservative talking points, and that's it.
Well, and that's why it's very difficult to be in such a position, because it's like, okay, well, you know what, I have this fan base, but at the same time, I may not agree with what angle the talking point is from the right on this particular event.
Right. And
so you're left with the decision: do you remain silent and not cover it because you don't want to be, disingenuous and just lack integrity by just spouting off what you have to spout off in order to get the views and the likes and, oh, you're awesome, I love you. Or do you just, actually tell it like it is? So it's a tough position.
Right.
But you have to, one thing I do understand is that people, it's not created for that. It's not created for that. It's set up, you're left or you're right. You're either Republican or you're Democrat. And it's like, well, there's a lot of
nuance there.
Yeah, there is. And nuance is something that I think the right completely lacks. Nuance, I don't think people even know how to spell nuance on the right.
Yes, Queen.
I think
I stand.
and I think on the left, though, it's completely exploited. So
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a great way of putting it, because sometimes I think that the left, they get so nuanced. They like read every little detail. They're like, this means there's an implicit bias, which means this, which means that they're racist. And it's like,
yeah.
And then on the right, they're like, just don't commit crime,
Just
bro.
don't commit crime, bro.
It's like, there's got to be a happy medium, guys. Come on.
It's not set up like that. It's nothing that I've come across, nothing in the system, even with the system, even nothing is set up like that. Right. Nothing. It's just, and I don't know. It's troubling because I'm like, I don't know how you can. Where is this progress? Like, what are we leading to? Right. I don't know. I don't know. And I think that's the scary part, where it's like, okay, I hear that you may not like the left's proposal in this situation, but what exactly are they proposing? What is so extreme about it? Mm-hmm. Is there any data to support it? And then, of course, you have in some cases where you have, data that comes out and you find out, oh, it's been tainted.
Right.
And then you use that one example, or maybe there may be, isolated examples, more than one or a couple, and you use that to just completely discredit anything someone says.
Right.
And it's like, it's so damaging to any type of discourse, where it's like, well, where did that come from? Oh, I don't believe them. It's like, why?
Right. It's like you've got to have more than just like, it says CNN at the top. That means it's false, right? Like, you've got to have something there, right? Some critical thinking. So, Lucas, let me ask you this: what would be your closing words to people who are maybe in a similar position to you, where they are wanting to examine a little more of the nuance? They maybe don't agree with the right on everything. What would be your advice to those people?
That's a good question. I would say, regardless, I think either way, I think you're going to lean probably more left or more right. Mm-hmm. Anytime you put something out there, I would try and preface it just to let people know. Just right. Like, kind of like when the doctor's about to give you a shot. Okay, this may feel a little bit of pressure. That's what they say. They never say you're going to feel any pain. You're never going to stay. You may feel a little bit of pressure, right? Just to preface, to prepare the audience for what you're about to say, because it's about to be completely off of the talking points or what the narrative is for your party or your ideology. Right. And just continue forward. It's like, hey, that doesn't mean, I think it's best to say what you don't mean in some cases.
Right.
Because many people will jump to conclusions. Okay, so what I don't mean by this is this, this, and this, and this. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, because you can say what you mean and people will still try to just misconstrue it and be like, oh, so what it's kind of with the classic Jesse, what's his name? Not Peterson.
Jesse,
yeah, it is Peterson.
Jesse Lee Peterson?
Not Jesse Lee Peterson, Jordan Peterson. Oh. Right? The interview where I like my black phone. Yeah, he's like, so you're a racist is what you're saying.
Right.
No, it's not what I'm saying. So I think that's the best way. And I think if anyone, I don't know, if you're planning on starting YouTube or anything like that, I think you have to think about this before you start it. Right. That way you can avoid all this trouble. Like
yes, I wish I'd thought about it beforehand. Really wish I'd thought about it beforehand before I dived into the YouTube making super right-leaning content for the last 3 years. And then one day I was like, I don't know about this.
And honestly, alienate your audience, and it completely everything's been algorithms, everything's just been like, okay, well, we know the audience likes videos like this, and once you start conflicting with that viewpoint, that it just screws you over very much.
But you know what? It's so much better to take that approach, because I would much rather watch my channel just burn and die and drown into oblivion, knowing that I stood by what I believed and that I was willing to be honest and transparent, and that I was willing to take into account and look at nuance, and that I wasn't just going to stick to the narrative.
But no one does that.
I don't care.
Pioneer. You're a pioneer then.
I will pioneer. I'll keep doing it, because it's kind of like what I said in my video. It's like, I started this channel to talk about what I believe in. Whether that's left or right, I'm going to say shit how I see it. So yeah, I guess if there's anyone in the same position as you or watching this right now, I would probably tell them kind of a similar thing. Just be willing to explain yourself, and don't back down, because sometimes there's angry mobs on the left and there's angry mobs on the right, and you don't want to be intimidated by any of those people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't pigeonhole yourself.
Right.
And it's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It is hard, but talk about like breaking away from narratives, right? That's how to do it. You just think for yourself, do your own research, and don't just kind of agree and parrot what you hear on like Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or whatever. Thank you, Lucas, for coming on. I had to get a passive aggressive little roast.
I noticed.
Thank you, Lucas, for tuning in. Where can people find you?
For now, you can find me on YouTube. As long as the channel's still there, as long as we still got, as long as we have 5 subscribers, we're good. Good.
Hey,
Instagram.
don't sweat it, bro.
There we go. The Instagram, the Amazing Lucas. That's what it is. I need to start another Twitter because it's been getting spicy on there.
It has been. I know. I wish that I could get back on Twitter. They banned me like 3 years ago. It's like, guys, come on. Let me back on now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Lucas, for coming on. And thank you, everybody,
for having me.
Yeah. See you, man.